Thank you for being here. I don't have that energy. I hope it's okay. But we'll get there. I'm very happy to be here because this is actually, next week is going to mark 3 years since I moved to Brussels. And judging, thank you. I think it started, yeah. Judging from the weather these days, it looks like I'm going to be spending it on my favorite part of Brussels, the indoors. I know, a Spaniard complaining about the weather, something very new, never seen it. But I have to say, in our defense, it's the only thing keeping us from complete mental breakdown. A week ago I was in Antwerp for the first time in my life, and I went to an art museum because it was raining. And there was this big painting there called the Spanish Fury. And the painting depicted a bunch of Spanish soldiers back in the 16th century sacking Antwerp and murdering, pillaging, raping, plundering. And I was like, checks out. That's what a couple of bad summers will do to a Mediterranean brain. Guys, I'm not condoning terrorism, okay? I'm just saying you have to understand the root causes. But there's someone who complains about the weather more than Spaniards. No? Belgians. Every time I meet a new Belgian and I tell them that I live in Brussels, they're like, oh, so sorry about the weather. And I'm like, yeah, you should be ashamed of yourselves. But don't worry, I'm not gonna murder you. I spoke with my mom earlier, so it's fine. I think I'm pretty well integrated at this point in Brussels. I think it's good, although I still don't know which day is garbage day. But people complain about the weather pickup system in the city, but I like it. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's great that they employ wild animals to pick up the garbage. You know, pigeons, rats, foxes, they've lived us for free forever. It was about time they get a job. You know? Fucking hell. I live now near Etandix cells, and you know it's a respectable area because my garbage is picked up by a crow. Crows are smart. Like, that guy has a bachelor's degree, you know what I mean? It's probably fine arts or something, you know, has to make ends meet, picking up garbage. But it's a respectable garbage picker, you know, every morning I get out of the door, I see him there, patiently picking orange peels, and I'm like, bonjour Maurice! I know he's French-speaking Belgian because he's nice, I'm poor. You know how I think we could improve the Brussels garbage management system if we hire the Sicilian mafia to do it. Because let's face it, we already have the violent crime. At least they will dispose of the bodies properly. You know, every time I hear of a fatal shooting happening in Brussels, I'm like, I hope it was garbage day. Otherwise it's gonna live to be rotten there for a week. No, terrible, terrible. 3 years in Brussels. I arrived here when I was in my 20s, now I'm in my 30s. I arrived here with a job and a girlfriend, now I have none of them. It's great. When you are in your 20s, you think that you need certain things to be happy. When you're in your 30s, you stop trying. So this is what happened, you know, and I guess I'm going through a midlife crisis, you know. Some people tell me, Daniel, don't you think 30 is too early for a midlife crisis? And I'm like, you don't know how long I expect to live. You know, like, I'm fine with like 60 something, you know, like, and it's not that I don't like life, I just don't need 9 seasons of it. Like, I think life after 70 is kind of like the new movies of Star Wars, like you can watch them. The good stuff is in the past, you know. Star Wars fans over there, give it up. They try, you know. But also dying shortly after 60, it's my retirement plan. You know, like, people my generation, they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, there's not gonna be pensions for us. I was like, speak for yourself, I have a plan. As part of a midlife crisis, I also left my job, and I went full comedy. And I used to be a consultant. I hear there's some consultants in the room. I'm not gonna ask you what, because I'm afraid you will charge me. If you don't know what a consultant does, just Google it. It worked quite good for me, you know? And yeah, I left because I just wasn't feeling it, you know? And then there's this whole thing, like the thing with being a consultant is that nobody ever grew up dreaming with being a consultant. Nobody ever told their dad, like, Daddy, when I am old, you think I could be reading PowerPoints out loud during Zoom calls and then register every single thing that I do on a computer app? I don't know about you, but if a child of mine ever says that to me, I will send him to conversion therapy immediately. There's no choice, not under my roof, you know? I think this whole idea that you have to find realization through work, I think it's nuts. I think it's a hoax. I mean, first of all, if work is so great, why don't we let children do it? Child labor, terrible thing. Huge human rights violation. You turn 18, that's the only thing you have to do for the rest of your life. It's terrible. It's terrible. It makes no sense. You know, you guys have ever heard of the phrase, work makes you free? If you know that phrase, you either know your history or you went through a very dangerous YouTube rabbit hole. If that's your case, please report to the police. They're not going to do anything about it, but you know, at least unless they will keep a registry, you know. So yeah, work makes you free. It's written in the case of Auschwitz. Auschwitz, yes, right? We know. It's a famous place where people take Instagram pictures and not famous for its human resources practices. Let's just say, famously, they had a lot of burnout cases. I think this is a great moment to say that I'm available for family parties and corporate events. You know, some comedians, they only do clean material, so they get hired for these events, but I have a different approach. I have them pay me to cut down the dark material. You know? So that's it. But no, Charlie mentioned vocation earlier. I hate the word vocation because I think it's kind of like it implies that you have to have a vocation, and I was very angry because I never had a vocation, but then I found out that vocation actually comes from, like, it's a religious word originally. It means you've been called by God to, like, serve Him. But, you know, Jesus Christ, Messiah, Son of God, entrepreneur, personal hero of mine, I'm not kidding, personal hero of mine, and I'm not kidding, because Jesus Christ, he only started preaching and being a Messiah after age 30. That's a bold career move. That's reskilling, guys. I can only imagine Jesus Christ being a carpenter, you know, in whatever the ancient equivalent of IKEA was, and like, you know, like, oh, fuck this shit, I'm just gonna chase my dreams, you know? Like, being a Messiah, all that. It was all great on his head, but imagine when he went to his house and tell their parents, you know, his parents. And you imagine the reaction, like, that, Mommy, Daddy, I think I'm gonna go preach and be the Messiah. And Maria was like, but you're 30. Shouldn't you be thinking about buying a house, marrying a woman, a Jewish woman, of course, marrying a woman, giving us some grandchildren, you know? And Joseph was like, you think you're better than me? You think you're better than me? Carpenter not good enough for you, eh? You wanna be like your real dad? Don't come asking for money later. Messiah. Messiah is for rich kids. Terrible. No, I am enjoying not having to have a real job. Gives me a lot of time, and This, for example, is a perfect Saturday plan for me because not only I'm getting paid, also I have a perfect excuse not to go to a restaurant. It's great for my finances. And it also allows me to think of a lot of interesting stuff. For example, cockroaches. You guys like cockroaches? No? Well, then don't look under your seats! No, I tried, but it was garbage day, so they're working. No, it's cockroaches are fascinating actually. Like they're pretty disgusting, let's face it. But there's so many cool stuff about them. Not only the fact that they can survive radiation and therefore will probably outlast us in the case of nuclear war, which, let's face it, we don't have to worry about that for at least the next couple of years. But there's also, like, I had a cockroach infestation in my previous house in Brussels, and we set up these traps. You know, the traps, the square traps with, like, they enter and they get out, and it was very effective. And, but I am not satisfied with the success. I have to know how that happened, and I feel like you need to know too as well how these traps work. So that what happens is that the cockroach gets in and gets the poison, and then it brings the poison back to the nest. And then the healthy cockroaches also die. You know why? Well, there's two reasons, or there's two mechanisms basically. One of the reasons is the healthy cockroaches eat the poo of the sick cockroach. The other reason is the healthy cockroaches eat the healthy cockroach, the sick cockroach. You find that disgusting? You know who doesn't find that disgusting? Cockroaches. That is why they will outlast us, you know, because a cockroach does whatever it takes. It's like Mario Draghi. This is literally the only room in the world in which that job would work. They do what it takes. For a cockroach, every day of their life is like their plane crash in the Himalayas. We call it cannibalism, they call it breakfast. Do you know that cockroaches also are the only animal in the world which you can cut their heads off and they will still survive for a bunch of days or weeks, right? I saw it in a video when I was taking a shit. I was going to say I read a paper, but I'm just going to be upfront with everyone here. And this got me really, really thinking, because it's just amazing. Like, sure, it sucks. Eventually you die, but that headless week, wow. No worries in the world. No hangover, no hair loss. You're just living in the moment. And here I am spending 14 euros an hour in yoga, meditation subscriptions. They can do that with a guillotine, you know? I wish I could spend like 1 week without my head, you know, like those people who go on the social media and they're like, I'm going to be disconnected from social media for a while. I would love to be like, I'm going to be disconnected from my central nervous system for a while. Of course, I'm a man, so I will still do 90% of my thinking with my dick. But the 10% is what matters, you know? And think about the guys or the ladies, why not? The scientists who are doing these experiments, guys, for a minute, you know? Going into work every day, cutting heads of cockroaches off, and then be like, you know, well, is he dead yet? Is he dead yet? Those people had dreams at some point in their lives. Those people, they probably went to university to heal the baby dolphins or something like that, or shower baby elephants, you know, but they had a vocation. They had a vocation, and then one day you're there, life gets at you, and you're just cutting cockroaches' heads off. Thinking, am I too old to be the Messiah? You know what cockroaches need, guys? Okay. Well, you know what cockroaches need, guys? I think they need a PR campaign, you know, because even vegans, like, they would obliterate them all if they could, right? I think they've earned the karma. So I think what we need is a Pixar movie about cockroaches. I mean, these guys, they know how to make us like disgusting stuff, you know, like, I mean, if they could just make us bugs, if they could make us like monsters, if they could make us like Mexicans. Now, I know that's a racist joke. It's not my joke. I told this routine in one day in Madrid, and this Mexican audience member gently came and said, you know what would be really funny if you say this about Mexicans? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take it from you, and I think that's the most Spanish thing every person can say. I'm gonna take it, my Mexican friend, but don't worry. In return, I gave him smallpox. So it's okay. No, and I'm just gonna leave you with an outline of the script for the Pixar movie, and if I ever see this produced and it's not me getting the royalties, I know who to blame, okay? So the movie is gonna be about a little cockroach named Jimmy, who is very nasty to all the, more than for a normal cockroach, with all the other cockroaches. But then one day, walking in the street, he gets captured by a human scientist who thinks he can be the Messiah, but that's for a spin-off. And then eventually they cut his head off and they put him in a little jar in the lab and they just wait to see what happens. And obviously Jimmy has a lot of time to reflect with whichever organ it's left to reflect. And he looks across the room and he sees another cockroach. And who is this cockroach? His childhood sweetheart, Mariah. It's hard to recognize because she also has no head, but it's her. And then they reconnect, and eventually the movie ends with the scientists being cut off funding and dropping the cockroaches down the toilet. And in that moment, those two little cockroaches take their 8 hands and not only have more peace of mind than I do, also have a much more interesting love life. Thank you very much. Have a nice night. Give it up for your host.
Give it up again for Dani, everyone! Alright everyone, we only have one comedian left. She's a very good one! Alright, so